If your valve springs are rusty, one more time, no freaking good. You need to change whatever you're doing. Well, god darn it. Once again, I was wrong. You guys were right. I mean, that thing's probably like 1/1000th of an inch out of round. These soft bearings actually will squish out. I wish that stupid thing would fall out. If I could figure out a way of getting it out without taking the head off, it'd be great. All right, so as you can see, Bailey actually sent me the engine out of 2.0 a full 1 week before I had to have it all done and back in the car. It's amazing the amount of time frame that he's now given me. He's learning. It's great. I'm just kidding. So anyways, you'll see here just starting to tear everything apart and just looking for anything. And I'll give you a little explanation after you see me get this thing all disassembled. Alrighty, so let's do a go over the teardown of Tom Bailey's Freshen Up. Now, the deal is it just has a bunch of passes. It doesn't have a actual sick week or drag and drive event on it. It's just been, just been testing and it's just been killing chassis parts for a long time. But it's like, well, what the heck are you gonna do? What the heck? It's like, well, I guess we should just at least look at it, but everything seems to be perfect. Lifters look great. Pistons and rods and rings, I mean, just look fantastic. Got really good free gap. There's no wear there. The tune-up is looking really nice. Everything is just looking great. You can see bearings look like brand new. Everything just looks great. So I think what I'm going to do is just take the heads apart and just look at the valve job guides and valve springs. And then I'll show you all that. And then after we do that, I guess it's just going to be putting this thing back together. So this is after the car's gone a few 390s, a whole ton of tire shaking, and which can sometimes do damage. You can see head gaskets, the way we took it off. Or when I took it off, was showing you, it just looks perfect. Everything looks really nice. We debated about just not doing anything, but then you'd regret not at least looking at it. So let's take these heads apart and show you that, and then I guess we'll just be putting this back together. Yeah. Oh, sweet. The new, you guys did mention, I thought, okay, because Snap-on sent me that probe like very next day. I mean, they sent it to me next day, or just so I could have it. It was the only one they had right that second, so I do appreciate that. But I had a whole bunch of people said, oh, you ought to get one of those probes that goes can stick in the port, and then it turns like that, or like that, which is kind of weird. It's kind of freaky. So let's go check this out, and we'll go see what's in there. I don't think there's going to be anything in there, but just in case, we'll be able to go into the spark plug hole and then go whoop, and look up into the combustion chamber and see if there's anything up there. Alrighty, so you see we got this, I got Bailey's engine all the way apart. I thought I would show you some stuff on engine bearings. Alright, so what you're gonna see here, first we got the crankshaft out. Connecting rod bearings look great. The interesting thing on the main bearings is this weird black coating. The bearing actually looks really nice. It is, grab my bearing mic here. This has this weird coating on it. Yeah, the bearing is actually right spot on the money, but it's not a coating. This is actually some kind of contaminant that is in the oil. Whether it is just a chemical reaction or what's going on there on the main bearing, because you see it in the block too. The block side doesn't look as bad. Didn't hit this portion of the main at all on the thrust, but they're not wore out at all. This is a literal coating, or not coating. This is a literal like chemical reaction. So let's go in the solvent tank, see if we can wipe it off real quick. All right, so now these Tom has not been running my oil and RevX, so this does not have RevX in it. You can see this just very light. I'm just barely even touching it. It just kind of comes right off, but it is definitely just some kind of weird coating that's going on there. I keep on saying coating, but it's just a reaction of what's in the oil to the bearing. Doesn't seem to be doing any damage or any harm, but I think I'll still just put in a set of bearings anyways, and then I'll address this little bit of radius touching the main here. Now what we'll do here is we'll see, all this is brand new. What this engine just has, it doesn't have any drag and drive events on it. It has just a bunch of test passes on it, a whole lot of shake and tire passes, quite a few 390 and faster passes in the 8th mile. The car is obscenely fast. I mean, half if it goes 390 in an 8th, it usually goes like 620, shutting off with the parachutes out. Okay, so everything is really good. We just are, like I said before, we're just questioning what to do with it. I'm just going to be cleaning everything up and just inspecting it. Crank looks great, everything's fine there. I mean, everything is super good. It looks ugly on those main bearings, and you can also tell that, especially like this bearing, you can tell that it's just some kind of reaction because of the way it looks. It has this weird little shadowing all over it almost looks like sat in water. Really hard to say. And has a little bit on the connecting rod bearing, but not bad. Now we'll go through here. Bearings look great. I'm going to go through and just measure this up real quick. And it's, oop, darn it, lost my little ball thingy. Have to reset my 0, make sure it's still, yep, still 0. Yep. So this bearing, I'm going to give you this little bit of information, because we got a whole bearing video coming out. The top 3 things, we got a whole new video coming out. The top 3 things you need to know about engine bearings. And it's not just about clearances and all that other kind of stuff. It's about literally what bearings do and what's going on in there. When we do the oil clearance issues, we're gonna have Bill, the oil nerd, is gonna come over, and we're going to actually discuss oil viscosities and all this other stuff, and clearances and what it does to oil and what you need for viscosity and weights and all this other crud. That's gonna be in a separate video. Might make it in the same one, not sure. But just very quickly, the way we check in a pro modified style engine or anything with a really big horsepower is the bearings, and it's a certain type of bearing. It's a softer bearing. I go over that in the bearing video that's going to be coming out. So when you see this video, make sure you click on it, like, subscribe. But these soft bearings actually will squish out, and so you'll see the top fuel guys, blown alcohol guys, pro modified guys will actually look at their rod bearings, measure them if they're not destroyed, measure them and see how good the tune-up is and how much horsepower they're making by how much this bearing squishes out. And it literally, if there's a problem and it's been detonating or it's got a really big tune-up issue, you'll literally take this bearing out and you could physically see it squished out wider. It'd be like wide right here, by like 10,000. So I mean, visibly noticeable. Now here we can measure the width, and we measure it here at the parting line, and then measure it down here in the middle. It's exactly the same, hasn't been squished out at all. I also measure it on all 3 corners, or all 3 sides here, here, and here, and it is the correct shape. I'll talk to you about shape in that bearing video. But this thing looks like $1,000,000. It's all good. I think I am literally just going to clean this thing up, put everything back together. I might put the new main bearings in it just for the sake of doing it, because I don't like that discoloration, even though it's not doing anything. But I just don't like it. And then I think we're just going to start putting this thing back together. We'll go over there. You're looking at Cody is going through the cylinder heads, running the springs across the spring dyno, making sure where the springs are at. Once they'll always go down a little bit, and they take a set, and they usually stay there. And I talk about spring breakages and what's going on with them at low RPM, at certain frequency rates, all that kind of good stuff. I talk about that in other videos, and I think everything's all good, because I mean, this thing had brand new valves, brand new springs, brand new lifters, brand new pistons, rods, everything in it was brand new, and it's never done drag and drive yet. So we just wanted to check it out because it's made a whole bunch of partial passes. Just want to make sure everything's all good, and it looks great. So we're gonna put this thing back together, and Lord willing, won't have any issues with this. But you can go over there, check out cylinder heads and how that's all working, and I'm gonna start cleaning up parts and putting this back together.
All right, Cody, what are you doing here on Tom Bailey's SMX head?
I just roughly cleaned them up real quick. I'm gonna tear them apart. I'm gonna run all the springs on the dyno to make sure that they're still within spec. Check the valve job, inspect everything, inspect the valves.
Haven't found anything too concerning so far?
No, everything looks great. I mean, it should be a quick, easy, tear it apart, put it back together.
Yeah, nice.
We'll just go through and make sure everything's kosher.
Right.
You should be good to go.
Alrighty, so here's Bailey's cylinder heads, and we are going to just touch up these 3 exhaust seats. Now, these 3 exhaust seats hold vacuum, but you can see a little indication where it's just, I mean, that thing's probably like 1/1000th of an inch out of round. Maybe 1/1000th of an inch, or maybe 2 at the most. This one is a little bit more right here in this whole area. And so we're gonna just touch it with a valve job with the rattler machine here. To give you FYI, so what the deal is because this was a fresh valve job before, you're always, every engine, no matter what it is, unless it's your stock beater that makes 200 horsepower, and even that, if you put a brand new valve job on it, you make everything brand new, you go out, you run it, you put a whole bunch of load on it, stuff moves. It just is what it is. Material moves. And this one, this is all solid right behind here up into that spark plug area. So this one, I mean, the combustion chamber looks good, the valve looks good, everything looks nice in it. That seat has just moved a little bit, so the material's still just moving just a little bit. I mean, it probably literally is only just a couple thousandths. Never knew it. I mean, the car was just running 390s. A big deal. Actually, a little faster than that. But we're just gonna touch that real quick and just make sure everything's all right. The other head over here, this head looks fine, looks perfect. Everything's really good through here. Everything's real nice, so everything looks great there. Not gonna do anything with this one. Just gonna touch up those 3 seats there, just a little touch, and then that'll be good to go. And then we'll run Cody will run the springs across the spring dyno, and we're gonna check all those things. Still see this surface rust on the springs, and I've got to talk with Bailey to figure out what is going on. Cannot let these springs rust. This rust on the springs will destroy springs. So I'm gonna go over there, look at it, and see what it is. If you go back, way back, when you see a whole bunch of broken spring video, and it pure out 100% was these springs got so rusty sitting down there in Florida in a weird air conditioned area. Something's going on there. Something is happening, but rusted those springs so bad that when you started them back up in the spring or whatever it was, little stress fractures from the rust actually just broke the springs. I talk about that in that video. So gonna check this thing out, run these across the spring dyno. I'll look at them really close to see what's going on with them, and we'll go from there. Alrighty. So everybody said, man, you got to be able to check up in the chamber. It's stuck up in the it's stuck into the cylinder head. I knew it wasn't stuck in the cylinder head because it would be banging hard. So you can see right here, that is, you can see right there is one indentation of the screw. And then as I move this thing over to the other side, there we go. You can see quite clearly that is the indentation of that screw head. That is the indentation of the screw. That is crazy. A perfect shaped indentation in the combustion chamber of the screw. And then
Is that the thread?
where it broke, I don't think so.
You sure?
Well, we know we have the screw head.
Yeah, but the other one almost looks like it's the threads right there.
It almost looks like that's a screw right there, doesn't it? But
These are the threads. They're sticking out.
ah, shoot, it is. It's sitting right there. Ah, fudge!
Well, you found them.
Fun, found it, yeah.
At least you don't have to worry about where it is, but you kind of do.
Poopy. Not sure. Dang it! Really am surprised that it is sitting right there.
I was gonna say, it didn't look like a indentation.
Nope.
It looked like a protrusion.
It looks like a protrusion. God darn it. Dang. I'm totally surprised. Fudge. Well, god darn it. Once again, I was wrong. You guys were right. Had people telling me this in comments, and even had somebody email me. Aaron Jambor emailed me. Said it's probably stuck in that head. And I said, no, it can't hardly be stuck. You heard me. I said, I thought for sure it was not stuck in the head. I am dead on surprised. So, I'm going to have to take the head off. That sucks. Joe,
Good thing about an SMX
Look at
is
that.
you don't have to take anything else off.
Yeah, I can just pull the head off, but
you
God
found
darn
the
it.
rest of the bolt.
Yeah, I found the rest of that bolt. It didn't, the turbo didn't need it.
No wonder it was so clean.
Yeah, and that's why it's so clean. It's amazing that it broke off, and that's the minimal amount of damage it did. It's absolutely amazing. So, once again, Steve Morris eating crow. It is what it is. I was wrong. So, yeah, we'll take the cylinder head off here as soon as I get time. It ain't right now. I'll tell you that right away. I wish that stupid thing would fall out. If I could figure out a way of getting it out without taking the head off, it'd be great. So it's a lot of hours taking the head off here that I don't have. So anyways, let's check out some other stuff. Alrighty, just checking turning torque on that. Looks great, 26 pounds of turning torque with the rings and everything. Crankshaft doesn't take anything, maybe a pound or something from oil. But thrust is set, bearings are in, piston rods are in. Everything's torque. Everything's torque. Check twice, and then just go through it and do a quick verification on where it is for turning torque. I can feel it was all right, but I sometimes like to just get the number on it, so I know where these particular engines always are at. Since we did not rehone it and put a new set of rings in it because they were like brand freaking new, they were brand new, basically, it would have less turning torque than when it is fresh ring, fresh hone. Only makes sense, got fresh pattern, you know. So usually those will be about 32 to 35 pounds of turning torque, and this is 26, so that all makes sense. I think Cody is over there right now. Let's go look at these springs, and he's gonna start running across the spring dyno. He already did the touch up the valve job on those 3 exhaust seats, and so let's go see what he's at. Alrighty, so the let's see, Cody's got the seats all cut. You can see the valves are super nice. And we use a Victory valve here on all these. They're coated NiCad, something coating. Can't remember what it is on titanium valve stems. And in fact, the entire valve is what's coated. So we don't even grind them or do anything with them. The lapping does absolutely zero to it. All it does, we clean the grid off, so it doesn't do anything to it, and just shows us a imprint of where it's at. Could we use Prussian blue? Yep. Do I want to? Nope. So now here on the valve springs, this valve spring is fine here. Now this is not a problem with the valve spring. It's not a problem with the engine. It has nothing to do with anything other than this thing is setting with water on the valve spring, period. And it makes it rust. And when you look through here, I'm not sure if you can really get a good picture of that, or if that's going to zoom in. You can see the pitting on the surface of the spring as compared to no pitting on the surface of the spring. If your valve springs are rusty, one more time, no freaking good. You need to change whatever you're doing. This isn't just aimed where I'll tell Tom himself. I don't know what he's got going on. Take the freaking valve covers off of it and let it set with the valve covers off of it. But don't let it sit with the valve covers on. I take the valve covers off my own engine inside my own shop and just let it all air out. Do it quite often. So I'm going to have to replace some of these springs, but we are going to check them just to make sure it'll be interesting to see. Check them and see the pressure and everything, because it doesn't really have anything to do with pressure or how the springs wore out or going bad or anything like that. It literally is a surface deal where it makes the surface crack. So we'll go through and you can't polish it off. You can't do any of that kind of crap. Once it's rusted and pitted like that, you're just screwed. So we'll get some more springs in there and get that all done. Now, when you go through the drive portion of it, the oil gets so hot, it burns off all condensation. The drive makes everything nice. Gasoline doesn't do this. The only thing that does this is methanol. Methanol in oil pulls in water. Water makes everything corrode. Water makes everything rust. If you got rust in your engines, because you're not evacuating it out properly. So, but the drives, if you do the drives, it fixes everything. It burns all the water off, and then there's nothing there. And it's on gasoline. So the last thing you drive it on is gasoline. Oil's hot, burns off water. So Cody's going to run these across the spring dyno, show you how that works, and see where these things are all at. It'll be a little, it'll still be interesting to see if there's anything different. But yeah.
Curious to see if the rusty one will read lower.
Yeah, so there's a couple that are a little bit lower already than the rest. See, most of them are all up there, and there's a couple little down here. So. That one felt a little weak. Oh, we're still good.
So the rusty ones are fine, but there's
Yeah.
a couple other low ones in there.
Yeah. Yep.
Is that out of the ordinary? Is that still...
We'll see when it makes your report.
Alrighty, so we do have a couple dead springs here. So is this one exhaust?
Correct.
So this is one exhaust. It's down to 267. Alright, and that one doesn't have any rust on it. Interesting. 24, 16, 18, 288. Look at that. Then 330, 290, 320, 300, 331, 250.
I think that was the lowest one.
Yeah, that one's got a little bit of rust, especially right there. I don't know if you can see that. It's actually black. It's still rusty. Then 324, 306, 323, 312, 312. So 3 springs that were questionable. Well, and like I said, I didn't figure it would be anything related to the rust. In fact, that's the rustiest, worst one right there, and it's still good. Well, except for one. This one right here. This one right here really is the piece of crap.
Yeah.
These two here are actually pretty. Actually, they're low on the installed, but they're actually pretty darn close on the open. But I don't think we're going to use them. But what we will do is we will use these ones that are not rusty, that are good, because they've already been cycled and they're still holding power or holding pressure and they're happy. So we will run. I'll grab you a couple other springs here. So grab the rusty ones that we're going to take out anyways, and tell me how many springs we need, and I'll grab some springs for this thing. Usually, you might find a 20 pound spread, but that one there, at 267, and then 288's a little light. That's actually 290. Actually, technically, that one's probably, we'll just get rid of that one too. 320, 299, 300. 300 is pretty normal. I would be in the 300 to 330 range would be perfectly acceptable. They start out brand new at like 330. Well, that's the maximum. 330 is like brand new. That one's actually a little high. Probably has a shim stuck in it or something. Interesting too is that I have a drag and drive event on mine. We had, and if you go back, you actually saw where I broke one spring, and I explained why, what the drive condition was, what the RPM was at, not high RPM, low RPM, for constant, 2 hours at a time. And but when I got back, I had changed that spring, and I checked out my springs, and I used an on-head spring checker, and they're all right on the money. So these ones, that's after passes, that's after everything. Possibly the only issue probably getting into here is, I don't know if he has been, but I know for a fact Tom has broken a couple gear vendor transmission overdrives, which usually puts the car on the rev limiter. Probably a rev limiter problem. So when these things hit the rev limiter, any engine hits the rev limiter, a lot of times you need to take a look at valve springs. So what you saw here is I actually had to take that cover back off, because I actually have to put the cam sync in, because there is about 20 thousandths of difference. You have to pull the cam gear out. Just that much. That much to get it all in. So that was it.
All right, Cody. Looks like these are going back together.
Correct. Yep. Ran the springs, found some bad ones,
Got the new ones in.
changed them out for the new ones. Just
Sweet.
assembling them, give them back to Steve, and out the door she go.
Yeah. Hopefully this thing will be done today.
Yeah, hopefully.
Alrighty, so we got the heads on it. We're gonna finish this up tonight. All we're gonna do is put the rocker arm stands on. I'll show you that just real quickly here. You saw me taking this stuff all apart, but let's go over the head stud pattern because we're running head studs down. You notice that mine uses a head stud right in the middle of the intake port going down this way. You saw me tighten it up and torque right through here. This is what allows us to just pull the head off. Like for instance, if I got to pull the head off of the wagon or something like that, or anybody's engine, any SMX, we can just, everything stays here all connected. We can just take everything off and slide the head off because it will come right off, just like you see. So we've torqued this all up. This is 125 pounds all the way around, including that inside head bolt, which is 95 pounds. So much stouter piece, really holds gaskets very well. Then you have this is still exclusive to us, so this is our one piece billet Manton rocker arm stand with these steel bearingless rockers. Now these rockers are really nice because the one thing that is particularly cool about them is they are the same intake and exhaust, so any rocker will fit in any location. So really cool that way. Some of the earlier, there is a couple different revisions of intake, or I'm sorry, of rocker arms, but they all are the same ratio, same length, everything. So really nice stout piece. This rocker arm stand uses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 7/16 studs to hold this onto the cylinder head. Very cool deal. These plugs right here plug the top of the intake port, just like this. They screw in. Rocker arm stand goes right on top of it. It's just very good, super solid piece. So I'm not going to bore you with putting rocker arms on it. You've seen that a million times, how to lash video or how to lash valves, all that kind of crap. But this thing's going to be rocking. Get done. So anyways, like, subscribe, share, do all that kind of cool stuff. Appreciate all you guys. Have a great day.